guarantee of removal if they are no longer being used.
Okay. Okay.
And that bond amount, as we had discussed, would be determined by the township engineer at the time of an application, so that,
Because you could get an application would deal with one unit, or you could get with 15 or 20 at a time, so the bond needs to be adjusted based on the number of units.
Prices as this carries forward, the needs for prices.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Gives a little more
Yeah,
flexibility.
that's the important part, otherwise you're spending money to just constantly change numbers when who knows what could happen. So the fact that you can have somebody determine it at that present time is the key.
Good. Any thoughts? Comments? Okay.
As we wanted.
All right, well, if there are no comments, I will make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-01 wireless facilities ordinance to incorporate updates as required by the state. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Old business. Village cemetery maintenance agreement.
So in close, we have an agreement that we'd like to enter into with the Ladich Burial Grounds Association. This is to allow the Steve's guys to mow and weed within the cemetery and immediately around it. They also asked that Steve notify them if he notices any problems or any signs of people maybe out there partying or that sort of thing. So that's in there as the two things that we would be doing for them. I think Steve is just gonna incorporate it into his mowing schedule, as he has his guys mow in the parks, they'll just go by. Okay?
Okay, and the terms for 1 year, unless there's
Mhm.
changes.
And then it'll just renew automatically unless one of the parties decides otherwise.
Okay. All right. I make a motion to approve the Litch Cemetery maintenance agreement as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right. Authorize the manager to seek bids for sewage hauling and disposal for Perkiomen crossings and Ivy Ridge wastewater treatment plants.
So this is, we've kind of talked about this in the past. You guys had asked me to check with Steve to see if he needed any additional hauling that maybe we could include. He didn't have anything in particular on a regular basis that he needed. So our expectation is we'll just move forward putting together the bid request and include language about surcharges for fuel and any added costs for emergency hauling.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, then I will make a motion to authorize the manager to seek bids for sewage/sludge hauling and disposal. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Estimate for repair of 2 hydrants in the Perkiomen crossings and installation of 2 hydrants.
Did you want to?
Yeah, that was what we mentioned a bit earlier. We solicited quotes from Keystone Fire and from H&K. We got the pricing in from Keystone Fire, so it included what they had submitted before for the repair of the 2 hydrants, and then added on the cost to take them out. They looked at the locations where the former hydrants were, and as I said, it came in more than I thought. It was about $16,000 a hydrant for each of the 2 replacements. Part of that is, I guess they have someone's, there's some uncertainty as to what's there on the subsurface, how far down are they gonna have to dig, where's it stubbed off, is it at the laterally where the line comes out to it, or they're not quite sure what to expect, so they're kind of preparing for the worst. And then the other thing is at both locations there's a tree not too far out from where the hydrant was, so there could be problems with cutting the roots and killing those 2 trees. I think if it's something where if it's just totally removed at the bottom and capped off where the line came out to it, that's going to be a little more of a dig. If it was taken off a little low grade and just the upper part of the hydrant removed, that might be a bit easier and would result in lower cost. I could, like I said, look at other vendors I'm trying to get the H&K pricing, and I had hoped to have that today, but it did not come in yet.
Okay.
And also see if these guys, want to assume less than worst case, what they put in there is kind of the worst case thing, that they gotta dig down to the main and do the entire, point it there and have enough of a hole, to get access to where it's capped off and everything.
So is these hydrants, so they're just not working properly?
These two are not there.
They were removed.
Yeah, there's just the valve, you can see the valve out in the street, where the hydrant would have been, pretty easily based upon the tree, the curb and everything in the normal positioning, but there's nothing there. I don't know if there's any information as to how they were taken out back then, or, is
Probably
that,
not.
all right, that's why these guys are kind of assuming worst case scenario, that it's gonna be a bit of a dig and trying to work around not messing up the curbs and, least impact to the tree there, but still deep enough to be able to get the access that they need to, get to the capped off end point on it.
Okay. What about, we are going through the study for the
Yeah,
hydrant
that's-
system as total, how far out, where is that?
The specs all finalized.
Yeah, I'm just waiting, you were gonna give me a couple recommendations.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I'll get you
so
a
I'm
couple
just
other
waiting on
people.
some recommendations on people to send it to, and then we'll post it.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think Rick is like a month,
Yeah, I
usually
think
pretty
that's
good,
sufficient, yeah.
so.
And you're still waiting for this other H&K?
Yes.
pricing?
I'll give them a buzz first thing in the morning and see, I had checked out before, but couldn't get a hold of the contact there.
Yeah, I guess my question is, does it make sense to replace these hydrants right now if we're getting ready to do a study on the whole system? Or should we
Right.
maybe hold off on those and just do the repairs?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a critical thing to have them there.
'Cause we're not
based
fighting
upon-
fires with
Right,
them.
and the other hydrants that are there, I mean, it's not like there's nothing else in that whole street.
Yeah, I'd get your study done, maybe.
Yeah,
That's what I'm.
Yeah, if you'd have to do something, I mean, the study might show that, okay, to get an increase, you need to switch out the line from the main out to the hydrants and redo those
So
things.
you'd be redigging it all up.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, how that cost would come out, if people look at that and say, yeah, that's great, but wow, that's a lot of money kind of scenario. So, but yeah, I mean, it's been this long, it probably wouldn't hurt to wait and see, what happens with that and where it goes, and then kind of get a strategy from that point.
Okay. All right, so I guess we're hold off on this.
Well, we're waiting for
Well-
another bid anyway for
Right.
Yeah,
But do you, I mean,
repairs.
Yeah.
Well-
but if you guys don't wanna replace the hydrants right now, you could just go ahead and we could move forward with the repairs. Is the other company giving us a cost estimate for the repairs as well, or
they
just-
had already provided one for the repairs, they were
Okay.
higher than
Oh,
Keystone
okay.
on that first one.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
So Keystone's the lower price for just the repairs of the two existing hydrants, which is what we were originally trying to get. So if you guys are okay, if you wanna hold off on installing those other two hydrants, we could just repair the two that are broken for now with the, I think it's about $7,500, $7,546.
Yeah, why don't we do
I'm
that?
good with the repair.
Yeah,
Me too.
okay, so then I will make a motion to authorize repair of the two hydrants in the amount of $7,546.37. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay, all right. New business. Resolution 2022-09, authorizing condemnation of 3211 Big Road for public use.
Background on this, this is the building out front, and we've entered into an agreement of sale to purchase the building at a fixed number. In order to avoid the payment of deed transfer taxes, if we enter into a resolution authorizing the condemnation, and then take a deed in lieu of condemnation, we can avoid the deed transfer taxes for both the seller and the buyer, which is the purpose of the resolution. The closing has been set for, we just got the title report today. I sent them, I didn't look at it yet, but I will tomorrow. The closing is set for the 13th of May at 10 o'clock at the title company in Boston.
Okay. All right. Any issues?
The supervisor have to be present.
No, the township manager can do
This
this.
one's never bought property that I know of.
No, the only thing, the only thing that needs to be signed by the township is the HUD one, which is the settlement sheet. And you can authorize the township manager to appear and do that, and she needs to bring a certified check.
Okay. Right.
And we'll know that number for your meeting on the 12th. So you can authorize, because the number will be more than just the consideration, because it'll be title charges and some fees, like that, and some memory fees. So we'll know the exact number well in advance of the meeting on the 12th.
And also, Dave, you had mentioned,
Yeah,
you may want to consider also allocating some funds to maybe do some initial work on the property to, if there's some specific things in the inspections that we want to get done in the short term, we may want to allocate some additional funds to take care of some key items. And we can go over that at your workshop in May. if you
Okay.
want.
All right. Any questions on this? In the back? Okay.
Yes, what does condemnation mean?
it means you're acquiring it through eminent domain, which is a fancy way of saying you're taking title to it through the courts. But it won't go through courts.
Because we're purchasing
You're
it.
purchasing it.
Okay. All right. Then I will make a motion to authorize condemnation of 3211 Big Road for public use. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Recommendation to reinvest maturing certificates of deposit.
All right, so in front of you on the table here, as we had discussed at your workshop, we have two CDs that are maturing in the next, well, one of them matured yesterday, one of them's maturing, I think tomorrow, yeah, the 11th and the 15th, I think, anyway. And so we need to decide what to do with those funds. At the workshop last week, you had indicated a preference to go ahead and reinvest them in a short-term investment. So we, the treasurer got some interest rates for 1 year CDs, and they basically range from 1% to 1.2%. Now, right now, I think she indicates that the funds are in First Internet Bank. If we change banks, we're going to have to pay an additional fee. So First Internet Bank is offering a 1% interest rate, and the treasurer recommends that even though that's not the highest rate, we're probably better off just sticking with it, because
Because of the fee.
the fee to transfer would probably eat up what little more we might get.
Okay.
So that's her recommendation, is that we go ahead and stick with the bank that they're already with to avoid any fees for transferring. And then she's also recommending that we just do 1 year, because she anticipates rates will be going up, and so she doesn't want us to lock in
Yeah.
our funds for too long.
Okay. I think that makes sense. Okay. All right, then I make a motion to authorize the treasurer to reinvest the funds in the 2 maturing CDs into 1 year CDs at the best rate possible. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Resolution 2022-10, resolution to update financial signers.
So, as we were going through, the treasurer's getting up to date with all of our investments and our finances, and our old treasurer was still on as a signer for some of our CDs. So this will make it so that she's no longer on there, and then the 3 of you, and I think myself, are signers for these financial instruments.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any questions on that? Okay. Make a motion to approve resolution 2022-10 to update the financial signers. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Authorize the bid package for Faust Road and Seal Coat for Gozel project.
Norm, Take it away.
Okay, end of last year, there were different roads and concerns that Steve had had throughout the township. Drove a bunch of them, Kaiser was on there as well, and gave some prices based on the budgetary numbers. You had selected doing Faust Road and a seal coat on Gazelle Road. Gazelle Road was,
Details, I think.
yeah, and that's not done. It's certainly better than I sent to Tracy earlier, but we're not finished. But I can kind of go through that for you as well. But anyway, it was decided based on the numbers and the budget and the way you wanted to go. You wanted to do Faust and the seal coat on Gazelle. Gazelle, we won't even have plans for that. That's going to be something very similar to what we did on Colonial Road from the creek down to Fegleysville. We basically just did a double seal coat application like we did on the tot lot out here. So that's about a $10,000 effort, it might be a little bit more. There's a lot of oil in that and prices are higher on that. But this project right here, coming down from the road, coming down the hill, Steve had indicated we've got, some drainage issues on this side, but we do have a fairly large drainage area that does come down. And we've got a pretty good roadside swale down this side. Notice it continues from here down and then ultimately to the creek. So what we're doing here, there's roughly about 5 CFS that's being captured by this inlet. We take it across the street. That's a very small flow. And these numbers I'm telling you are 100-year storms. Okay, so come across to here, and then what we would do is we would do kind of a special inlet that we used back on Becker, and it worked out really well, which is kind of like this. I'm looking at it upside down, but basically what you've got there is a standard box, and then the short side of it is removed. So when the water, and this has to be updated, because right now it's showing coming to the end, it would come inside, and what it does is it slows the water down, it would discharge out the swale. Right here, down the side here, and right here, this line type with the dashes and the zeros or the O's, however you look at it, is like a driven-in post with a high-tension galvanized wire that the property owner put up. So we measured and checked that, and that will be far enough back. It's outside the right-of-way, but this riprap swale would look something like this. This still has to be updated as well, but it would be like that. We would maintain probably like a foot or an 18-inch shoulder. We'd go down at a 2-to-1 slope, flat bottom, up the other side, tie that in and stabilize it, because it's a shame, we're talking about Sweetsford, but this doesn't fit the dirt, gravel, or low volume because it doesn't qualify as low volume, but this certainly meets the intent of that grant a whole lot better than other projects that we've done. So we've got erosion here, riprap to here, down through here. We would replace these 2 driveway pipes on the, Joe Bilbert, but I forget what his last name is. Okay, so hard to pronounce, but there, and then this would, we would put in a much larger pipe in here as it needs it, and then down we would discharge it right back to the existing channel.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what you would have, and then, also from Little down to right about here, the bridge, station 22, there's a mark on 2175-ish. You can actually take a ride if you'd like, it's painted up, okay? And put a mill joint in there, and we would do probably about 250 ton of scratch to just get ourselves a good base, and then do a 2-inch overlay to save the road. But the good part about this is the damage that's currently being done to the road, because the roadside swale is not adequate, it will be. So, okay.
We've had cleaned out so many times along that, it's just too much water at once, that stuff.
Right.
It's just starting to undermine too much.
So this will stabilize it. It's gonna be a lot of rock, but it should look really nice when it's done.
Okay. And this is, was there any question about it, like easement or anything? Yes.
Yeah, so Norm and Steve had indicated there's a couple properties that they're gonna see about getting easements for, but it's not critical to the success of the property. It would just make the swales better. Does that sound right?
This right here, and I only put this as an easement, and it's only 5 foot outside the right of way. If we needed it, it would be marginal, but it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. This one right here, and I'm gonna change this up, with David taking a look at it and kind of wants the format a little bit different, a little bit larger, so you can see what's going on. But this is roughly about 1,500 feet of this person's property. But if you take a ride up Faust Road and take a look, the trees that are alive aren't really, they're scrub cedars, things like that. They're not anything real specimen. And this slope of this, what I would suggest on this one is basically to remove all of these trees along here. Again, some of them are hard pressed to call trees, but remove them right up to this fence, and basically what we would do is the backside of that swale, grade that to tie that right in to where his fence is at. It would look really nice. Now, if the property owner wants to save as much trees as he can tie in by the right-of-way line. So it's not, again, as Tracy had kind of indicated, it doesn't affect the project moving forward, but I'd rather include removing those trees because otherwise it'll just look so much nicer.
Backside swale, and I'm gonna be high.
High, yeah.
Gotta bear or slope it out.
So, and a good bit of those trees are already inside the right-of-way. In other words, his fence that he has there, I'm going to guess is probably in the neighborhood of 5, maybe 6 feet outside the right of way. So, you know, we can remove anything inside of that anyway. And Tracy said she was going to work on the cordwood agreement. We can already give that, all that paperwork today and get the temporary grading / permanent drainage easement paperwork together. That's the exhibit. After a couple of modifications, get it to Dave, and we've done it many times.
Okay. So, for this motion, I mean, I think are we saying that we want to wait until we get this, till we confirm with the neighbors, the willingness to grant the easements, or?
I don't think we need to. We meet with the property owner. I would think it's a good improvement for the property owner because he just put all that fencing in. If those trees do come down and start laying on this fence, why would he want that anyway? So, but even if he does, we can still do the work inside of that, and we'll find out pretty quickly. So I don't see any reason. What we'd be looking for is authorization from the board to put the project out to bid. We would advertise it, open it in May.
Okay.
So,
Any comments? Okay.
just before you do, just so you know, with the whole supply chain thing that's going on, for the most part, we've got an excavation project, we've got a riprap project. There is some pipe, so if there is a delay, because we're hearing sometimes 22 weeks to get it, then we would just have the contractor essentially not start until he gets those materials. So what that means is instead of the project being finished in July, maybe it's finished in September, because he needs another 2 months to get them.
But he's not going to wait until he has the material on hand, so he's not going to tear this up and leave it sit for months.